What is up, party people? Happy President's Day. When I was a kid, President's Day was back-to-back Mondays. It was Lincoln and Washington's birthdays, if I'm correct. Not quite sure which order. And we'd have 2 days off. And then somebody's like, we should just make it President's Day and screw these kids for another day off.
That person should be slapped.
Absolutely. Slapped a bejesus out of them. So, happy President's Day. For many of you who aren't working, you know what's going on. And the rest of you, you're there. You're working. God bless you. Man, I tell you what, I didn't have to do my national show today, so it was great. I slept in. I got up at like 5:30. I was like, this is great.
5:30?
Yeah. I'm not. I don't.
You lazy bastard.
My body wakes up every Monday at like 2:30 in the morning, like clockwork. So even last night, it was like, time to get up. And I'm like, no. Sleep, because it's important. Getting some rest, not a ton. You know, I don't sleep that much. You know, it was over the weekend, I was telling my wife, I'm watching Kai Trump, who is Don Jr.'s daughter. And she's a big golfer. And she was with her dad. They were filming some content. And he, you know, she goes, I'll come out and film with you. And so, you know, he was asking her, how do you feel about all the stuff going on? She goes, you know, it's okay. She goes, you know, having all those, you know, people around me all the time because she's got Secret Service and all that stuff. She goes, it's a little weird getting used to again. And she goes on. And, you know, have you been out to see Grandpa? She goes, you know, yeah, I went out and we filmed some content. He was really nice with that. She goes, I'm really always worried about him because he never sleeps. He does.
And that's historical for him. And if you look at most really successful people, one of the things that they sacrifice to be successful is sleep.
Yeah. We don't, you know, everybody's like, you got to have 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day. I've never gotten that. As a kid, I never got it. I haven't gotten it as an adult. I will have a day or two maybe where I will nap during the day, but for the most part, I'm just go, go, go. It's always how I've been. Even as a child, I wouldn't sleep at all. There'd be days I'd be up for 24 hours as a kid.
You weren't doing...
No. I was like 6 or 7. I just sat in the room and I couldn't sleep. Never could. And even now, I find it at times tough to sleep. Tough to make myself go to sleep. And then at the same time, it's also tough for me to stay asleep. So I just get up. If I wake up at midnight, if I fall asleep at 10, I wake up at midnight, I know I'm not going back to sleep. And boom, I'm just up. It's what I do. It's who I am. Speaking of sleep or nothing else, watching a bunch of stuff this weekend. First of all, the hockey game was great. If you guys haven't seen it, we'll play some of it. And you may not love hockey, may not, you know, really follow it, but the All-Star period for the NHL, they decided to do something different. So they did a 4 nations tournament. They shut down for a week and a half. They picked the Swedes, the Finns, great at hockey. Russia's great at hockey, but there was nothing really. They should have just had the rest of the world. But they picked the Swedes and the Finns and the Canadians and the U.S. And so the U.S. game the other night was in Canada, and they booed our crowd. They booed our anthem. They booed us mercilessly. And the minute the puck dropped, we threw down. And it started there, and it finished with a 3-1 win by the U.S. Now they're in the finals on Thursday night.
You want to boo? We'll give you something to boo about.
They did. I was showing some of the highlights to Belle. They were just lighting guys up. That's what it was all about. They came out, they had energy, and it started out 1-0, you know, because they have the best player in the world, the Canadians. They have the guy named Connor McDavid. If you've never seen him, the guy's a freak. And he scored, and then the U.S. just clamped down, scored a couple decent goals, not great goals, then an empty netter, but they were just... It was like they were shot out of a cannon, and it was amazing to watch. And I was telling my wife, I said, this is like, because if you're watching sports, it is the toughest ticket to get in Boston. Is, you know, normally a game 7 of a sport, AFC playoff game. Nah, right now, toughest ticket to get, period, for the last little while has been this game on Thursday night, especially if it's the Canadians. Because I think the Americans wanted to give the Canadians a little once for, ooh, geez, Chad. Meanwhile, Doge is still making headlines because that's what it does.
Elon Musk and his team promised to update their website by Valentine's Day with information about how much they are saving the federal government. But as of this morning, that page is still blank. Meanwhile, the administration is facing a series of legal challenges, and this morning we are learning the president's fight to fire an independent watchdog is now reaching the Supreme Court. Congress limited a president's power to fire a leader without cause. The high court is expected to weigh in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they weigh in on some of these things, because some of them were never going to happen. They just weren't the way but they weren't meant to. They were meant to start a conversation. They were meant to get people, talking about this. That's where, Trump went for the low-hanging fruit. What can I get by? What can I do? What can I do? What am I going to be able, and Doge is going to be able to overcome through just saying, hey, we're going to get rid of you guys, and the ones who are locked under contract, how's that work? That's the thing that's going to be interesting over the next couple weeks and months to see what is going to eventually go. And so much of this isn't about the can we cut a gazillion dollars? Because I think we all know after going through this over the last several weeks, that isn't going to happen the way that we would like to see it. Over time, it can happen. Over time, we can slow stuff down. The efficiency side is the thing that I think is most interesting because we're not efficient. We are working on things that are antiquated. It isn't good for us as a nation to realize how bad some of this stuff is. The fact that we can only, when people retire, so when they go out and they retire themselves, it takes them sometimes months just to get the paperwork down to the limestone vault. I mean, that's the kind of insanity of which we're working with. And if you've ever been into any city place, for the most part, it's antiquated. It is, the computers are old, the system's old, it runs so slow. Getting anything done it takes several giant steps. And that's an interesting thing that, part of the savings that we're going to have is going to be savings in a different direction because of not having to worry about whether or not only are we doing this right, do we have the right information, do we have the right system, and how much money is this going to save us over time doesn't mean everybody's happy.
Lisa Murkowski, Bill Cassidy, John Curtis, a Republican from Utah, writing over the weekend that they are worried about some of these job cuts, basically saying that in their statements, a number of statements, that it is one thing to try to work on government efficiency and it's another to move this fast and to not take in sort of that human factor, respecting a lot of these civil servants who do expect to be able to sort of leave their jobs with dignity and at least with proper information and notice.
What happened to 8 months of severance? See, I think if you didn't take the 8 months of severance and they fired you, you got nothing. Is kind of what I'm hearing. But I don't know how I don't know how any of this is working because some of these people aren't working and they're up in the air and the court's going to decide whether or not they go back to work.
This is a great example of the Republicans being just as pro-spending as the Democrats are, though. We are at $36 trillion in debt, and they're worrying about the way we're going to get out of it. We need to hack and slash like a video game, just start cutting stuff, but we're not going to.
No. And several of you have asked me over the last couple of weeks when I said it's a threat to our country, the amount of debt we have, especially how much it's costing us. We're going to, at the rate we're going to pass military spending very soon. We're just servicing the debt. That means we're just paying the bare minimum, right? So you got your credit card, and it's like a balance due $3,500, minimum $83. We're like $83. That's all we're paying. That's it. So that's the thing. You think about what happens in a few years if we continue on this path. And we're all of a sudden at the point where the service on the debt itself, just paying the bare minimum, is covering the same amount that it would cover if we were going to have a military as strong as we have it. And then we're not even talking about Social Security and Medicare because you can't even talk about that because we all know that's death. So don't talk about that. Don't even mention that. Well, you have to mention it or else. Did you see Elon had another kid, 13? Well, 14. He lost one kid to SIDS when he really young. I think he was in his 30s, 20s. He had another kid over the weekend. He's doing everything in his power to make sure that America has enough kids. It's crazy. It is crazy. Over the weekend, obviously, Ken, are you in there? I can't even see.
I'm right here, Brother Chad.
How are the floods, and what's the prognosis today besides climate change? We'll get to that in a second.
Well, right now, the death toll is at 11 in Kentucky, the hardest hit, and there are still search and rescues going on. President Trump has signed an emergency declaration to freeze up a bunch of resources for Kentucky, and, of course, Governor Beshear is blaming climate change.
Of course he is.
Here in Tennessee, we've got still some search and rescues going in far northwest Tennessee. This is Obion County in the town of Reeves, where a levee was breached, actually, I should say, over the weekend. So you've got people cut off there, and that's ongoing. Here in Montgomery County, in Middle Tennessee, in Montgomery County, 27 people had to be rescued from their homes. 52 people had to be removed from a nursing home in Macon County, just to the northeast of Nashville. And in Murray County, a family of 3 escaped unharmed after a tree fell on their mobile home and cut it in half.
My God.
They were sleeping.
That's insane. So what do we expect? Now, I know the snow's coming tomorrow.
Snow's coming tomorrow overnight into Wednesday here in Middle Tennessee, and some places could get up to 4 inches.
What are we looking at? Like, are we looking at what are we looking at?
Oh, like here in Nashville?
Yeah.
2 to 4 inches.
Okay, it's not bad.
2 to 4 inches, Brother Chad.
I thought we were only supposed to get hit once a year.
No, dude.
This twice thing is not working for me.
Yeah.
This will be a good one, right? This will be nice. And it's going to be cold, too. So Wednesday, it should stick on the ground tomorrow night through Wednesday.
Going to be real cold. Yeah, we're going to be in the teens at night.
Ooh.
Looks like for the rest of the week.
Loving that. I'd love that. I got a
you're
big coat.
crazy. You're
you know
crazy,
what? I got a big coat, right? I bought a big coat before I moved to Arizona. So my mom gets me a coat. She gives me this big coat. It's got like fur and everything. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Arizona. Never wore it until I got out here. So 7 years, I'm like, man, let's keep this going for as long as I can, because otherwise, what am I doing with my coat? It's got a big coat. Want to wear my big coat? I got gloves. What am I going to do with my gloves?
Now you can use them, Brother Chad.
That's it. Only for a couple more days, though.
That's right. That's right.
And Bashir did say it's climate change, because everything is climate change.
Yeah.
Everything in the world is climate change. And you can't have a conversation with anybody before people freak out about climate change. Like, oh, it's man-made. Okay. Well, how much of it's man-made? Well, I don't know. So what happened pre-man when there was all kinds of other issues with climate? Well, I mean, things. No, I don't know what happened pre-man, because there were other issues. By the way, we know this because we go to places and we do research and we find out, ooh, this used to be desert. Now it's ice. We go other places and go, well, this was never desert. This was ice. What happened there? So, and it shouldn't be political, because we should all want to do better with our climate, better with our environment. Nobody wants to crap. Don't crap what you eat. It's that simple. But to blame everything on climate change is insane. But that's what you get in today's world, because it's just easier, I think, to tell everybody how bad everything is and have a boogeyman than the reality is that there are some things we just can't figure out and or stop. And we want to be able to have the hubris of us being able to change something, which is a bunch of crap. You know that, and I know that. Coming up, a lot of stuff today. I want to talk a bit about the 60 Minutes piece about the Germans and the freedom of speech that's not free. Talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff, including women going out sterilizing themselves out of fear that apparently they're going to become the handmaid's tale. I don't. How you get to this point is
Well, weren't we promised that when Trump got reelected?
Yeah, and I'm still waiting. I didn't even get a net. I was promised a net. Go catch all the women I want. That's what I was told. Make you go home and have babies and be chained to the stove. None of that stuff has happened.
I just want to tour the internment camps just once.
That's it. But no, alas, it hasn't happened. But some people still think it will. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. Field of Dreams. Don't you want like, we always talk about rough greens here. Don't you want greens for yourself? And you think, Chad, because let's be real, none of us want to eat vegetables and fruits because it's not always great. But how about getting everything you need in one delicious glass? That's right. Field of Greens. It's nutritional armor for your body, as I like to say. It is awesome. Supports heart health, lung and kidney function, metabolism, even healthy weight management. It's got everything power-packed and all the greens you're going to need. And if you're like me, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, is that a week? Oh, you want a day? Isn't going to happen. With Field of Greens, it can't. It's going to give tons of energy, which is great. But most of all, it's going to give you confidence knowing that if you miss a day here or there, when it comes like a cheat day or something like that, you're going to get all the greens you still need with Fields of Greens. And this is it. It's a better health promise for my good friends over there, Fields of Green. If it doesn't improve your health, right, you go to your doctor in 6 months and 3 months and you're taking this stuff and your health is not improved, you get your money back guaranteed. 20% off right now, first order. Just use code Benson at fieldofgreens.com. That's code Benson at fieldofgreens.com. Busy Bee is very busy right now, but you want to be at the top of the list. That's what it's all about. That's why you want to join the famous Bee High Club, because it's always going to put you at the top of the list. It's going to give you discounts on work, and they've got tons of stuff right now. Free air duct cleaning with purchase of a new complete whole home AC. Free air duct upgrade when it comes to the packages. So if you need a cleaning, you buy the medium one, as I like to say. You're going to get the super extra large one at the same price. And let's not forget plumbing. Plumbing's important, right? Like, that's the one thing. We could put a jacket on. We may be able to go a day or two without HVAC, but plumbing, oh, God, they've got you handled across the board when it comes to plumbing. So whether you need a tankless conversion, right, or maybe you got something wrong with your pipes, a mainline issue, they have got you covered over at Busy Bee. So join the famous Bee High Club right now. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling at 775-7833, 775-7833, or visit busybhvac.com.
All right, drivers, we've got a crash blocking the left shoulder of 24 eastbound in Jolton, going to be right there at White's Creek. We've got a statewide Amber Alert for a 2-year-old girl out of Kingsport, possibly with a 32-year-old man in a 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria with Tennessee tag. You see a car like that, contact TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. We got the latest on the devastating and deadly flood and some protests in Florida over Doge coming up at 12:30 on Super Talking 99.7 WTN.
We know that climate change is making more weather events happen, but we keep getting hit over and over. And while the why is hard, I think we always see God in the response. Good people, brave people, doing the right thing, showing up for their neighbors.
Is climate change really doing all of this? And I say that because, look, we're human beings. There's 8 billion of us. Are we going to have an effect on the climate? Well, we're going to have an effect on the environment. There's no doubt about that. You can't dig giant holes and mine everything out, do a bunch of stuff, and put a bunch of crap into water and not think we'll have some effect. But how much effect? And all too often when we talk about these things, rarely is it about the death toll. I mean, when's the last time you saw this many? I mean, 11 people killed. That's huge. But if they weren't there, nothing happens. And that's what happens with climate change. We're always talking about the damage done for the most part and in the dollars and cents. This was something completely different. The amount of flooding, and flooding is terrifying. When you look at the hurricanes come, we know when they're coming. If you've been through a hurricane, and many of you have probably at some point in time been through a hurricane, you know it's coming on Thursday, but, you know, you're still out doing stuff till Wednesday if you haven't decided to leave or not. And you kind of play it by ear, like, how bad's this one going to be? Maybe it's going to be bad. Maybe it's not going to be bad. We can afford to do. That's the way this works. So when it comes to, like, hurricanes, we've talked about it. We talked about last week with Ken about, you know, what's the weather like if there's a potential tornado here? Do we have alarms? How good are they? They come out of nowhere, but you kind of get a feel because I think it was Saturday. It was like 66 degrees, 70 degrees at some time, and it was raining. You're like, okay, I could see the cool air, the hot air. They mix, boom. You could see something like that. This was torrential rain, very fast, in a small area that caused flooding. And is that because of climate? How would we know, like 50,000 years ago? How would we know what was going on at that point in time? All we can do is work around what we have. And every time there's a disaster, doesn't mean it's climate change. Every time there's a disaster doesn't mean, you know, oh, well, because it's this cold, this says climate change, or because it's this hot, this says climate change. Because according to us, 700 million years ago, we've went down and we've looked at the dirt and we've done all this, and you're just like, how do you know? How do you know what it was like on a Tuesday? Why 50 years ago was it the great ice age that was coming in? And then what changed so fast that we could turn it from an ice age to heating the planet at such a pace? I mean, I read an article last week. This guy, now this is great, right? So this scientist, you figured this is something Trump would want to do. He wants to go to the most remote place on the planet. He wants to detonate a nuclear bomb. And in doing so, underneath the water, it is going to kick up so much sediment, it's going to do something to the water, which is going to suck all the CO2, because that's what the ocean does, out of the air, and therefore will cool the planet. And it's like 1,200 times the size of any bomb ever that's ever been used or tested. Not even used, but tested. And that includes the giant Tsar bomb that the Russians have. I mean, it's interesting, right? Trump's probably like, get that guy on the phone. Let's see what this is like. Everybody's like, let's put a nuclear weapon in there, which was not Trump. Trump may have said it, but he was not the first person to think about, could we nuke a hurricane? He was not the first person to think it. So this guy wants to go to a place where there is virtually nothing. Like, the closest thing to you communication-wise is like the space station if you're out there. And he wants to let this bomb down to the bottom and then, boom, let it go and see what happens. We're all trying to find a way, kids. That's what we're saying.
The only problem is people in Atlantis would probably quickly run it back up to the surface.
That's why Trump would say, we can't do it because we found out there may be some issues. I'm not saying Atlantis, but, that's what he would do. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about the Germans, a little bit, and the measles, kids, the measles. The measles. They're everywhere. The measles. You ready for that? Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997.
12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, keep an eye out for a 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria, Tennessee tag BRF 4966. It is believed to be driven by 32-year-old Matthew Linbaugh, who took a 2-year-old girl, Maria Linbaugh, from Kingsport this morning. You see in a vehicle matching that description, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Right now in Kentucky, the death toll stands at 11 after devastating floods. They're still rescuing people.
Every time we get a good rain, it floods. Every time.
President Trump signing an emergency declaration to free up resources for Kentucky. Here in Middle Tennessee, at least 27 people had to be rescued from their homes in flooded Montgomery County over the weekend. 52 people had to be moved from a nursing home in Macon County. And in Murray County, a family of 3 escaped harm after a tree fell and split their mobile home in half. And right now in Tampa, Florida,
Deport Musk! Deport Musk!
Protesters chanting "Deport Musk" as part of what organizers say is a No King rally on this President's Day. All of this ahead of more federal layoffs tomorrow. Here's Rachel Scott.
Elon Musk and his team promised to update their website by Valentine's Day with information about how much they are saving the federal government. But as of this morning, that page is still blank. Meanwhile, the administration is facing a series of legal challenges, and this morning we are learning the president's fight to fire an independent watchdog is now reaching the Supreme Court. Congress limited a president's power to fire a leader without cause. The high court is expected to weigh in.
Pope Francis has now spent his 3rd night in the hospital where he's being treated for bronchitis. He has overcome his fever. He's been prescribed essentially complete rest. So over the last few days, he's been resting, reading, and, of course, praying. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
$47% off non-surgical and spinal decompression going on now at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley. Why is that? Because in honor of the 47th president, it's the big 47 offer going on right now. So you can have a life pain-free. Enjoy things you used to do. Be happy with your life. No more back pain. No more neck pain. This is what it's all about. You got something with your arms and your legs. But how about spine, man? That spine is so much. And we all know if that back's not right, life's not right. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, experts. They're ready to get you rock and rolling. During your consultation, you're going to get an exam, x-rays included if needed, or bring an MRI to review Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, to review everything. It's about putting you on the right path, and that's what they're going to do. Spinal decompression machine is going to help heal the disc by opening the disc so that blood and nutrients can get to the area, heal the spine, get you back to living your best life. Start this year off right, pain-free. Yeah, it is absolutely possible. Call the Wellness Institute of Nashville now, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
This is interesting. It's an interesting little jam right there. A little ditty about Jack and Diane. If they was in a German dance band.
It'd be Dieter and Diane.
Dieter and Diane, uns crazy. And so instead of a hot dog, to be celebrating the taste of free, but it'd be a bratwurst. Oh, geez.
Man, you picked up all of those accents over there in Europe. Didn't you?
I did. You know, everybody asked me, did I pick up any accents living somewhere? Yeah, actually, when I was in Scotland, even though I was there for only a year, I came back with a little bit of Scottish accent. Because the first, say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks I was there, I had no idea what anybody was saying to me. They were like, John Neal, I'd say, aye, wee man. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. This guy so we were staying in the same hotel. He was like, they brought him in. He was a former big-time superstar. This was going to be his first coaching job. He's going to play player manager kind of thing. And his name was Simon. And Simon had spent the last several years in France. And he would look at me and go, oh, I've no idea what they're saying. I know how to speak French. I don't know how to speak whatever they're speaking. This is awful. But they're like, yeah, no, it's like, wee man. You know what I mean? No idea. No idea. You crazy lad. But then when I came back down to England, after my little loan thingy was over, I was like, people were like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean what's wrong with me, lad? Nothing. Wee man. Oh, goodness me. We're having fun here on this Monday. The Germans, they are crazy. And they are going out now. If you've memed somebody unfairly, you could be going to jail.
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning. And we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany.
Hier ist die Polizei, wir müssen bitte mal mit Ihnen reden.
Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online. At the exact same time, across Germany, more than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
Now, I will tell you this. Our Supreme Court has spoken, and they said the only speech protected in America is hate speech. That's it. Because if it's kind speech, we don't need protection for that, right? It's kind. It's nice. We don't need protection. Yeah, it's good. If we like it, then it's not hate. So hate speech is the only speech in America that is protected. Over there, they will decide what is the hate speech.
What's the typical reaction when the police show up at somebody's door and they say, hey, we believe you wrote this on the internet?
They say, in Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting on internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
They don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my free speech. And we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it is also has its limits.
We have our limits, right? You can't advocate for violence, right? No yelling fire in a crowded theater. And a lot of that has to do also with how it is perceived as far as that goes. Because if you yell fire in a crowded theater and nobody moves, nobody's going to go report you. And so even if it's a joke, well, it was a joke. And there are limits, though. You know, advocating for the death of people, going out and not only advocating, pushing for it is one thing. No, we shouldn't tolerate that. But we've talked about it all the time here. Bella and I have talked about when crazy goes and hides, that's the scariest thing.
Because you don't know what they're doing, and if they're crazy enough, they could be building a bomb.
That's it. And you can't reach crazy if you go and by crazy, we know what we're talking about. People that are so out there, so angry, so full of hate. You can't talk to them and try to reason with them, try to have a conversation, not only try that, but also see where they are. You're going to make them a martyr. They're going to go away and say to themselves, this is all of the issues that I've been complaining about. They have now confirmed it for me. And then the next thing you know, boom, you're in trouble.
Interpreting those limits is...
By the way, interpreting. That right there is the scary part. Because who gets to be the king and queen interpreter of anything? It's no longer Not what I said. It's how somebody interprets it and takes it.
Interpreting those limits is part of the job for Dr. Matthias Fink, Svenja Meininghaus, and Frank Michael Lau, a few of the state prosecutors tasked with policing Germany's robust hate speech laws online. After its darkest chapter, Germany strengthened its speech laws. As prosecutors explain it, the German Constitution protects free speech, but not hate speech. And here's where it gets tricky. German law prohibits any speech that could incite hatred or is deemed insulting.
So we're not even at the point where it's actual hatred that you're saying. If it alludes to something that may lead to hatred. So if I say something like, there are too many foreigners here who are coming here and they're keeping their own identity of their own nation, and in doing so, they're not integrating into society. And because they're not integrating into society, it is making tougher and tougher for us to become part of a one German society, therefore making it a situation where we are separated and it's causing problems. That can be interpreted by some as, you hate foreigners, so therefore I should come for you. You haven't said, go kill foreigners. You haven't said they're the worst. You're talking about something that is real. And because of that, this is the interpretation side of things.
It's illegal to display Nazi symbolism, a swastika, or deny the Holocaust. That's clear. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician...
That sticks around forever.
Yeah.
It sticks around forever. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, if I insult you in person, right? So now I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go to your face and yell at you.
And how many of those interactions are going to turn into actual fights?
Yeah, there you go. But It's okay, though, because we're doing it for the right reasons. Nobody else is going to see it but the people in and around there. No, they're not, because people are going to film it. What if I said something insulting to you? So Belle and I get into it, and I say something insulting to Belle. That's an insult. But I didn't film it. Somebody else did, but put it out there. Am I going to be held accountable for that? Should he be held accountable for that? You and I both decided we were going to handle this mano-a-mano, right? And big hair versus no hair. And this is what happened.
The prosecutors explain German law also prohibits the spread of malicious gossip, violent threats, and fake quotes.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. It's a kind of punishment if you lose your smartphone. It's even worse than the fine you have to pay.
Because your whole life is typically on your phone now.
It's insane.
And they're laughing about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're laughing. It's so wrong. You know, said that they would even do this, but it's funny that we take their devices and don't let them have their devices back. You're laughing about censoring individuals. Now, mind you, this is all coming on the heels of the attack that took place. There was also another attack in Austria, I think yesterday or early this morning, our time. We have got several nations over there that have come to the realization, albeit too late, that through mass immigration, that they've allowed their country to slowly but surely change, and now they have a protected group, and the people that were born and raised there, the Austrians, the Germans, the Brits, the French, feel like they're second-class citizens in their own country, and now there's a new group of people that is absolutely protected because we don't want race wars. Nobody does. Nobody does. At the same time, the more that you protect, the more that you shield, and the more that you don't demand these people become part of your society, the worse it's going to get, and it is getting bad over there.
But it was a 2021 case involving a local politician named Andy Grote that captured the country's attention. Grote complained about a tweet that called him a Pimmel, a German word for the male anatomy. That triggered a police raid and accusations of excessive censorship by the government. As prosecutors explained to us, in Germany, it's okay to debate politics online, but it can be a crime to call anyone a Pimmel, even a politician. So
you don't want to be called a Pimmel.
Yeah, but most of them are Pimmels.
Most of them are. But now here's the thing. If I call the entire group a name, so therefore I'm not focusing on a singular, I'm calling the system itself a name, would I be in trouble for that? We're trying to figure out where we're going here. And at what point in time does this carry over to foreigners, which they didn't get to it so much? Because if I'm going on vacation and I've called them Pimmels, am I going to be in trouble? Oh, Mr. Benson, you've come over here to Germany and you called somebody a Pimmel. So you're in trouble. Happy vacation.
So it sounds like you're saying it's okay to criticize a politician's policy, but not to say, I think you're a jerk and an idiot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Comments like "you're son of a bitch," excuse me for using, but these words has nothing to do with political discussions or a contribution to a discussion.
Okay. Well, I mean, that happens. See, a lot of this is, it's not so much and their laws over there are so weird. And they're much easier to maneuver. There's a reason that most celebrities will sue in Europe before they try to sue in the United States when it comes to, the certain laws, right? When it comes to what somebody says about a rumor, whatever it is, they sue over there because it's easier to get a judgment than it is here because we have such sweeping free protections when it comes to our speech. But for them, they're narrowing it down. Look, for a long time, you couldn't read Mein Kampf. You couldn't have anything to do with Nazi stuff. There was look, they felt ashamed. We are very sorry for what happened, not only once, but twice. They were shameful, especially after that second one. They were extremely shameful. They've allowed a little bit more of, well, now you can read it. There was a time when you couldn't even see the book, Mein Kampf. You can now. That being said, they have now come up with something that is equally as evil in some ways, especially in modern times, which is they're trying to censor you from having any kind of conversation. Do I think name calling can be ridiculous? Of course I do. But you and I both know that several of you call me names all the time. I'm fine with that. I would never want you to ever have that opportunity to say horrible things about me taken away because that's not who we are as a nation. I can take it, but
Are you sure it doesn't hurt your feelings and make you want to go home?
No, it doesn't. Well, going home's always nice, but still. We're at the point now, though, where these nations are supposed to be our closest allies. And they're living in a world now where sticks and stones no longer matter. That's not important, right? Names will be the damaging thing. And they're going to be the arbiters of how you meant it. And that's the scary thing. And we can't let that happen here. Nursery, indeed. Coming up, a lot more stuff still to get to on this Monday. I can't believe it is. There was somebody on, was it MSNBC or somewhere, CNN, that said we shouldn't have President's Day anymore. I think it was one of those wackadoos. We'll talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff to get to, including very interesting thing Bell sent me earlier today about all of the predictions of the world coming to an end and how close we've never been, according to this guy, who everybody continues to give him opportunities to speak, which is beyond me. If I was this wrong all the time, you guys would, everybody, you should fire me if I was this wrong all the time.
Just to add to the tease, I insulted him repeatedly on Twitter, and he ended up following me.
There you go. That's all you got to do, kids. That's all you got to do. It's Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there now. Use my code Chad. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today. So what is Rough Greens? It's for your dog. And they have one for your cat called Meow Greens. Right now, they want you to take the 90-day challenge with Rough Greens. Green is good and healthy. Brown is not. And your dog and cat food is shelf stable. This is going to help your dog and cat food come to life. It is awesome. So during the 90-day challenge, you're going to notice a few things. First 30 days, more energy, better coat, shinier coat. And this is all just one scoop a day on top of your dog or cat's food. By day 60, your dog, stronger immune system, boom, less shedding, improved joint function due to the live nutrients inside of the supplement, Rough Greens. By day 90, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health. You might even reduce their risk of cancer. Rough Green is awesome. I give it every single day to my dog and now with Meow Greens to my cat. I want you to try a Jumpstart trial bag and take the 90-day challenge today. Go to roughgreens.com. Use code CHAD. When you do, $20 value. It's a Jumpstart trial bag. You get it free. Just cover the cost of shipping. Rough Green, that's RUFFgreens.com. Use code CHAD.
A deadly weekend across America, not just from floods, but crashes due to winter storms. You got to hear about this one in a Wyoming tunnel coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so the headline here is presidential historian says President's Day is ridiculous. We should scrap it? What do you mean?
It is a little bit silly. I mean, we have had some real duds, so I'm not sure we really want to be celebrating all presidents. And the tradition actually comes from celebrating birthdays, which is a celebration that we inherited from celebrating the king.
Okay. Would you be saying this if Trump was not president? Out of curiosity. Yes, and I said it earlier when we were younger. Most of you probably remember this. We got back-to-back Mondays off, and it was awesome because it was President's Day. It was first Washington's birthday or Lincoln's and then vice versa, and we got it off. Now it's because they're duds?
And I'm just not sure that that's exactly what we want. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we necessarily want to celebrate the people. I think that we want to have a certain respect for the office. I totally get that. And some have done extraordinary things, but by celebrating all of them, I do think it causes us to think of the president as somehow other, when in reality, they are a citizen just like everyone else.
Which is true. I mean, I don't think of who they were. Right? I don't think of any, when you're a kid, you know what you think of? It's a day off. It's not like, guys, before I even think about going out and playing today, I'm going to sit down and with my thoughts over Lincoln and what he did to free the slaves. And, we're going to go over that. I'm also going to think about Washington. He had slaves, but how did he treat them? I'm going to think about McKinley. I'm a big Taft guy. Nobody's thinking of that stuff. You just think, dude, I got to go outside and play. Yeah.
So you mentioned this earlier in the show, the idea that Trump posted something just over the weekend where he quoted Napoleon Bonaparte-esque, saying he...
Napoleon Bonaparte-esque. What exactly is like he quoted something kind of, sort of? Like it sounds like Napoleon?
Wow.
Really? You're not quite sure? Like what did he say? If only I was taller? I don't know. Which, by the way, can I just tell everybody, Napoleon wasn't short for his time. He was about average. They painted him that way to take away the mystique of who he was. He was like 5'6", was about the average back then, but they wanted him to look tiny because it was part of the, even back then, propaganda.
Saying he who saves his country does not violate any law. It feels like exactly the example of what you're saying we should push against.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think if we think of a president as someone to celebrate just because they exist, which is what the king was, and that's why they celebrated the king's birthday, then it does evolve into that argument that they can do no wrong.
Of course they can do wrong. They're human beings. They're going to screw up all the time. Do you think Trump's going to be perfect? God, no. He's going to screw up a whole bunch. That's what being a human's all about. He's going to try some stuff. It's not going to work. We're going to move on with our lives. That's it. That's everybody. There was one person that was perfect, and we saw how we treated him. Okay? We saw that. We're like, oh, you think he's so perfect? Well, here, check this out. All right, coming up next hour, Bell sent me a very interesting article. I've talked about him before, not here on this show, but boy, has he swung and missed a whole bunch. It's about climate change, and it's also about population. Elon says we need more, and he's trying. This guy says we need less, and he sucks at doing this thing. So we'll talk about that. A bunch of other stuff. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got another round of winter weather on the way. Details during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now across Tennessee, keep an eye out for a 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria with Tennessee tag BRF 4966. It's part of an Amber Alert for 2-year-old Maria Linbaugh. Last seen this morning wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt with a heart, beige pants, pink shoes. Maria possibly in the company of 32-year-old Matthew Linbaugh, believed to be traveling in that 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria with Tennessee tags. If you see them, you're asked to contact Kingsport Police or call TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. What a deadly weekend due to everything from winter storms to severe thunderstorms and rain. Governor Andy Beshear says the death toll in Kentucky is 11 from all the flooding.
We are still in the search and rescue phase of this emergency. We are still We still have multiple different missions that are underway. There are still people that are in harm's way.
First responders from other states on the way to help Kentucky. Right now in Middle Tennessee, 27 people rescued from their homes in Montgomery County, 3 people in Robertson County, 52 nursing home residents in Macon County had to be moved to a safer facility. Alex Perez is in far northwest Tennessee.
In Reeve, Tennessee, the levee failing.
That's about 4 hours they've been in the water.
Residents Denny and Karen Stow had to be taken to safety by boat before driving themselves to Union City, Tennessee. They spoke to ABC News from their hotel room.
We're fortunate enough that we can stay at a hotel tonight, but what's going to happen tomorrow, the next night, we don't know.
Complicating things here, the area now bracing for snow and plummeting temperatures as we head into the week.
So Alex Stone's covering this story out of Wyoming, where a third victim was found after a fiery crash inside a highway tunnel.
26 cars and trucks were involved in the tunnel crash on Friday. 3 people are now confirmed dead. 5 more were seriously injured. It was in a tunnel along Interstate 80 near the small town of Green River, Wyoming. There was a crash and then a fire inside of the tunnel. Snow has been slowing work as investigators have gone vehicle by vehicle trying to reconstruct the scene and better understand how the chain reaction started. The tunnel is expected to reopen in both directions later this week.
In Colorado, some ski resorts say they've received over 2 feet of snow, making travel tough, especially for large crowds who are going to be returning tonight, expected to cause a crawl along I-70 near the famous Eisenhower Tunnel. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
I saw this, for those of you at home not seeing, we're playing a little Thunderstruck from band AC/DC.
Yes, sir.
They're a really good choir out of Australia.
Yeah.
They love Jesus and all that he brings with him. But did you see over the weekend, obviously many of you did, the Daytona 500? Trump's like, let's go. Let's race. So he did the thing, but like all of the stuff, all of the videos have been thunderstruck the whole time. That's what's been hilarious. Thunderstruck. Because he was out doing his thing. I thought it was hilarious. And all of the drivers like, this is great. This is awesome. This is amazing. Now, I didn't watch the Daytona 500 because I'm not a big car guy. As a kid growing up, if I had a choice to race in any race, it would have been F1, Formula One. Formula One's awesome. If you don't know, have you watched Formula One?
It's been on in the background.
It is, first of all, it's just because you're going to the coolest places on the planet. This weekend we'll be in Monaco, and next week we'll be in Saudi Arabia, and then we'll be in Dubai, and then we'll be, in da-da-da. It's just awesome.
Right.
Formula One's incredible. And the money is out of this world. Like, it's awesome. But Daytona 500 is the Super Bowl, and Trump was there, and I'm like, that's his crowd. Like, he rocked it, and it was great. Like, your crowd. You went there, you did your thing. And watching the beast go around was amazing.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was awesome. It was amazing to watch. Now, today's a different story because there's a bunch of people out protesting. This is awesome. I don't know what this sounds like. I don't know what the song is like. We're going to hear it.
Deport Musk! Deport Musk! Deport Musk!
Deport Musk.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear this one.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Trump and Musk have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Trump and Musk have got to go!
Trump and Musk got to go. Hey,
they got
hey.
to go.
Ho, ho. Trump and Musk have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Is it this catchy, though?
We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on?
No, it's not as catchy. That's number one with a bullet every week. So they're out complaining about Musk and the Doge, which is awesome.
Or as she puts it, the Joge.
The Joge, that's right. Which side? What are we going to do, guys?
Deport Musk.
We're going to deport Musk. He's an American citizen now, if I'm correct. So he's an American citizen, and we're going to deport him where? Back to South Africa? And all those white South Africans are trying to get here. Because of, by the way, when I hear people say, that's not really true, they're not killing white farmers, they are killing white farmers. And this has happened in Zimbabwe, where they came in and they cleaned house with white farmers. Also there was plenty of Indians in Zimbabwe or Asians, of Indian descent. And they came and they cleaned it out. And then all of a sudden, within a few months, they had hyperinflation. Because the people they gave the stores to had no idea what was going on. And that's how they got hyperinflation over there. It's just like that was a snapshot of how that stuff happened. And there's no doubt apartheid was awful and it was horrible. And the blacks in South Africa were treated in modern times, nothing we'd ever seen before, as horrific as it has been. That being said, we're not deporting him. You don't like what he's done. You don't like the fact that he's out there and he's trying to eliminate stuff. And it's the hilarious thing is, you're shooting the messenger for the message that you don't like. And that is, there's lots of waste. There's lots of craziness that goes on. There's lots of this stuff that is ridiculous. And you don't like it. And there's lots of confusion. Of course there's going to be a lot of confusion. They came in and they're like, we're going to get rid of these programs. Oh, my God, what are you going to be? We're going to get rid of them. We don't need you guys here. Why are you guys here? We can move this under here. We have several agencies that overlap. We don't need all of these things. And now they don't know what the hell's going on, which is, it's not always good. There's lots of confusion.
We've heard from so many federal workers that say that they agree there is a conversation to be had about trying to trim fat across the federal government. People that work for the federal government are often the first to identify waste and abuse. Many of them want to engage in that conversation, but they say that this process has been just so messy. I mean, we've heard stories of people who have gotten email notices that they have lost their job at midnight, even when their own supervisors and advisors didn't know. It's very government-esque. We never roll anything out the right way,
That's number one. And when I look at this, I laugh a bit. Yes, are these people pissed and angry? Yes. Are they? Some of them going to end up keeping their jobs? Probably. Should some of them have taken the 8-month buyout? Yeah, I would say so, looking back on it. That being said, we never roll things out right. There was always going to be angry people. There was always going to be people pissed off because they lost their gig, because government's not used to losing gigs. They're not. Hell, we even overfired. We got rid of people that were watching nuclear stuff. We're like, you guys need to get back. We meant to fire everybody but you in this situation. Now the IRS, are they next?
At one point over the weekend, the White House seemed to confirm that members of Elon Musk's team had accessed this IRS database. It has information there for personal information for millions of Americans. But then the White House seemed to backtrack and say that, in fact, a member of Musk's team with the Department of Government Efficiency had only been onboarded at the IRS, had asked for access, requested it, is expecting to get access to this system.
Somebody just asked, what's his plan for Doge? I don't think they know what the end game of Doge is going to be. I think the goal is to not just cut, because we're hearing a lot about cut. I think one of the other things that's totally not being talked about is streamlining, updating, and using modern technology to also make things more efficient, which will also cut. I would like to see if we could cut 10 to 15% of stuff. We're not cutting the trillions of dollars, because the stuff that we would have to do to really make those, over a time period, it may work out to be trillions, but we're not going to cut $3 trillion off the budget in the first year. It just isn't going to happen. It's not, because we're not going to deal with the things that need to be dealt with. I think the biggest cuts are going to come when we get to the military, because they're not going to take on Social Security, not at first. They're not going to take on Medicare, not at first. They may look at fraud and waste, but that's a losing argument for many people, even on the right, who look at this and say, yes, there's waste, but don't touch my Medicare, don't touch my Social Security. And you can't explain that, hey, we're not touching yours, but we've got to do something for the future of America. Otherwise, we're going to be broke, and you're going to have none or half of what you're getting now, which is something people don't want to hear. And we've explained that several times, and I've got a lot of texts and tweets and stuff at me where, no, you can't touch mine. It's not about yours. Yours should come. Yours is going to be fine until it's not. Until we run out of money, then it's going to be 80% of what you're getting, 70% of what you're getting. And that's going to come eventually if we don't do something. And we better figure it out. Nobody ever wants to. The thing about being a leader is, a true leader is going to tell you what you need to hear. A true leader is going to tell you this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because otherwise we're in trouble. We saw Macron, was it last summer, where he finally went and said, look, we're going to have to raise the retirement age here in France. We're going to have to do these things, because if we don't, we're going to run out of money. And we're already out of money, but we're going to run out of money to the point where we can't borrow anymore. And, when they set this up, you guys, retiring at 55 and dying at 60 was one thing. Now you're retiring at 50, 55, and you're living to be 80, and you're making more money than people that are working. That is unsustainable. And he said the hard thing, and then everybody came down on him, and he reversed somewhat. And now they're back in the same place. Doing the hard thing is what leaders do. And if that means going into Social Security saying we're going to have to privatize some of this for a younger generation, otherwise you're going to see none of it, and the people now aren't going to get any of it, and we may have to think about doing the unthinkable for some, which is taking this and moving the age of retirement up, to 65, 70, which people don't want to hear. But the alternative is you're going to get a lot less, and we're going to go bankrupt. And I don't think that's something people want. So how do we address that? And we're not talking about if you're retired now at 68, you're going to go back to work. We're talking about people that may be 35 now or 40, that they may work longer because they're going to live longer. They're going to live longer better. So, but you have to be honest about what's happening. And yes, waste and fraud is a big deal. Let's see what it's like when we cut that out. And it's funny that she said, well, usually these people are the first people to talk about waste and fraud. Well, where were they over the last umpteen years? My God, COVID was the biggest giant boondoggle that you've ever seen of waste and fraud. How many people just got wealthy off that? And they're catching very few. California, for God's sakes, had tons of prisoners getting COVID payments. Stuff that they're just like, that stuff adds up. It all adds up over time. But even cutting that, it's the long-term stuff that's going to go that we have to pay attention. That's why I think the military, because the military is easy to cut, because so much of that stuff is obsolete, is not built for today's military, which is totally different, and where we're going is totally different. When it comes to the future is not men and women on the battlefield. The future is robots, it's AI, it's drones. That's the future of where the battlefield is going more than anything else. So you can streamline some of that stuff, but that's going to be a massive cut. And I think Pete Hegseth is going to go, yeah, come in here and cut some of this stuff. We don't need all of these things that we signed a contract for that we're going to pay out for the next 10 years, and that stuff's going to sit in a warehouse, and we're hoping there's a war somewhere else we can ship it off to, because that's what's happening. But that's still not going to be the service of debt, which is coming. I think last year was $687 billion. Think about that. Almost $1 trillion. That's paying our minimum payment. That ain't good, kids. That isn't good at all. What about health care for all these people?
We've heard stories of people who have gotten email notices that they have lost their job at midnight, even when their own supervisors and advisors didn't know. People who were locked out of their email and HR systems before they could figure out whether they would still have health insurance.
Needs to be streamlined. They need to figure this out. They'll figure it out over time. But it's not going to be easy, and some of these people are going to lose their jobs. And that's because there are a multitude of agencies that cross over each other. Everybody thinks USA aid is going away and it's not coming back. It's not going away. The lunacy with USAID is going away. The $2 million for this, $1 million for that stuff, because the CIA is still going to need it. They're still going to need to do their coups and do their thing, right? So they're still going to need their little area. We do a lot in buying goodwill, especially in areas where we are going to need to have a somewhat of a footprint on the ground, because it's good for us and it's good for our economy. And we don't want China to come in and take over in areas, especially when it comes to minerals and things like that. I mean, that's a lot of what this is. That stuff's not going away. It's going to be under the State Department. That's going to be under Marco Rubio's purview for that right now. So this stuff isn't going away that everybody thinks it is. The lunacy is going away. And that's a good thing. But to think that we're going to cut gazillions of dollars this year, so much of this stuff is going to end up in court. And so many of these people have massive contracts that are legal. And that's when I said, when this first taken on, it'll expose a lot. We can find ways to maybe streamline stuff. But the reality is, all of this battle is going to happen in court. And that's where I think the frustration is going to come from the American people, seeing the waste, seeing the insanity, and it ends up in court. And then a lawyer argues, hey, we've got contracts, we've got all these things, you can't just get rid of us because of. And then what happens? People are frustrated and pissed. We don't want Peruvians to have a comic book about a transgender person that we're paying for. We don't. I don't even know if it's a good book. Is that the next Marvel book? Might as well be.
No, it's the current one.
Coming up, kids. Bell sent me a cool article. We're going to talk about it when it comes to climate change and the predictions that have not really ever happened the way that people have thought. We'll talk about that, a bunch of other stuff. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch gold. Gold is really important right now because God only knows what's going out there in the world, and you want to be protected. Gold can help you with that. It's been around forever and a day. It's a great way to hedge yourself if the market goes south. Great way for inflation. Should inflation start to get even worse, gold is there to help you. Birch Gold's going to help you big time. First, you text the word Benson to 989898 today. They're going to send you out the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. On top of that, they're going to get you an investor kit, let you show why gold is important, why it's been around forever, why in a time of uncertainty, it is a great way to protect yourself, especially in the battle of minerals and stuff, why gold is the perfect place to be. You can also move your IRA and your 401k over there, get it backed by gold, and not have to worry about paying anything, no fees, nothing. Text the word Benson now to 989898 to get the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era, as well as an investor kit from my friends at Birch. That's Benson to 989898 today.
Keep an eye out for a 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria with Tennessee tags. It is the subject of an Amber Alert. A missing 2-year-old girl last seen with a 32-year-old man. And the number to call if you see that car, 1-800-TBI-FIND. We've got other stories for you, too. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Climate change. It's happening. Can't stop it. The world's over. It's too late. 9 years? Was that 9? How long ago was AOC said it was going to be 9 years, and it's too late?
She said it was going to be 12 years. I think it was about 8 or 9 years
Okay,
ago.
we got time still.
Yeah, well, life's not over quite yet.
So, according to, I don't know, a lot of people, doomsdays have come and gone without the dooms and the day being there. And I'm not saying a doomsday is not coming. The Lord can return and say, it's time for us to go. Volcano could happen 2 or 3, 4, 5 times, and all of a sudden we're screwed. A giant, huge meteor
that you were talking about last week
could smash into us, which has nothing to do with climate, although they'll figure out a way to make it about climate. Well, if the weather wasn't the way it is, that meteor would have flown into another direction. Paul Ehrlich became super popular in the 60s and 70s. He is a professor of ridiculousness. And his big thing was we need to reduce the population. He warned of disastrous famine, urged placing sterilizing agents into staple foods and drinking water. He's a biologist. His big thing was population control, which was just phenomenal. And he said that everybody would disappear in a cloud of blue steam in 20 years. That was 1969. Now, in 1989, I was having a lot of fun in Europe, and I think Never Gonna Give You Up was out. I think we were getting rickrolled.
Yeah.
At the time. None of that stuff happened. Now, it's just not, like, he has come and he has gone all over the place. The famine thing was spectacular. So the way he predicted it is there was too many mouths to feed on the earth. We weren't making enough food. The world was going to come to an end. We had massive poverty back in throughout time we've had poverty. That's not changed. There's still poverty now. Famine was massive in certain parts of the world. Not here. How many times have I talked about it? We've got a problem with the poor. They may be under the poverty line, but they're over the BMI line. Oh, geez, Chad. So he wanted to sterilize the world so we'd have enough food. Could you imagine how fat we'd be with all this food right now? We'd be huge. So what happened? Nothing. He spoke everywhere in the world, gave him opportunities. This is what he said. He said, experts keep saying the world food supply will have to be tripled to feed 6 or 7 billion people living in the year 2000. He said, theoretically, it may be possible. It's clear it's totally impractical. Not only do we feed everybody, there's plenty of it. We have gone from what we consider the abject poverty we saw that 30% or 40% of the world lived in the 80s to virtually about 10% now, mostly through capitalism.
And one thing that he has constantly refused to take into his quote-unquote equations is the fact that the more people you have, the more brain power you have to innovate your way out of problems.
Correct. And on top of that, and that's what's done this. He said, well, it's theory we could produce enough food. We didn't just produce enough food. We've overproduced food. A lot of what you're seeing in the massive starvation and famine, yes, it's food, but in many cases, it's civil war, right? Whether it's the Sudan, whether it's Somalia. This weekend, I watched that. You guys need to see it. The Black Hawk Down Netflix special. It's 3 parts about that day and how many days it really was and what went down. But so much of what's going on in a lot of these places, whether it was Rwanda or Ethiopia or Somalia, is civil war and the theft of much of the stuff that's being sent there to help feed the people. He's also went after the environmental pollution side of things. He said that we would be basically evaporated by 1989. We're fine. Then he predicted the new ice age, which we've talked about before, because of all of the climate stuff. And now we're at then we went to global warming. See, but with global warming, it has to go a certain direction. If there's a tick in the other direction, So then we went to climate change, because climate change, it doesn't matter which way you go. It's heads, I wins, tails, you lose in that situation. And you know what's crazy? He keeps getting opportunities to speak. They keep bringing him on to things. The ozone depletion was another one of his big ones. The cooling, acid rain. Oh, acid rain. Where were you, acid rain? Droughts. Oh, we've had droughts. Hot summers. Oh, rising sea levels. These were going back. This is what happens when you continue to throw out stuff that doesn't work. The problem is, instead of calling him on the carpet and saying, dude, nobody's going to listen to you anymore, they keep giving him more and more opportunity to speak because he fits a narrative they like. And we're still here, by the way. We could use a little global cooling, and in fact, Ken's going to tell us we're going to have some global cooling coming up soon. I think we're going to have some snow over the next couple of days. That is global cooling. Just want to let you guys know that. Coming up, oh man, I've got some more of those great chants and the craziness going on at all of the Doge rallies. Oh, woo! Let's just put it this way. Adolf Hitler is mentioned. That's all I'm going to say. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk, 99.7.
Yeah, snow on the way. We got details for you during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now across Tennessee, keep an eye out for a 2010 Silver Ford Crown Victoria with Tennessee tag BRF 4966. It is part of an Amber Alert issued on behalf of the Kingsport Police Department for 2-year-old Maria Linbaugh, last seen this morning wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt with a heart, beige pants, pink shoes. Little 2-year-old possibly in the company of 32-year-old Matthew Linbaugh, believed to be traveling in that 2010 silver Ford Crown Victoria with that Tennessee tag. If you have seen Maria, Matthew, or that vehicle, contact Kingsport Police or the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. President Trump has signed a natural disaster declaration for Kentucky to free up as many resources as possible, where Governor Andy Beshear says the death toll from flooding has grown to 11.
You look at the number of people we've already lost and the damage. This is one of the most serious weather events we've dealt with in at least a decade. We've certainly had our share, and this is another significant one.
Here in Middle Tennessee, 3 different water rescues in Robertson County. In Montgomery County, 27 rescues and counting. These folks telling Channel 4.
It went from, oh, look, we got water coming out of the banks back there to, uh-oh.
When the water started coming in and coming up, calls for assistance started coming pretty regularly.
In Murray County, a tree fell and split a mobile home in half, barely missing 3 people sleeping inside. And in Macon County, at least 50 people had to be rescued from a nursing home. Doge protests in D.C. and across the nation. That's from the No King Day rally in Tampa, Florida. And that's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Guess what? It's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty. Some rain. Your pipes could burst. Oh, no. You don't want that. You know what you want? Peace of mind. That's our buddies over at USS, United Structural Systems. I want you to call them. Take this number down if you have any needs, whether you're worried about the pipes bursting, that water, you're not quite sure where it's going. USS has you covered, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Western Kentucky. And when you take this number down, know that something could go south. Something could get nasty. Mold, black mold. Oh, you don't want that. Wood rot. You don't want that. 615-488-7855. 30 years in business, 30,000 5-star reviews. They are there to help you. They're not going to sell you anything you don't need. They're there to make sure to protect you in the event that something could be going south or it could be worse than you even imagined. Do not let it get that bad, especially with the water out there, as nasty as it is. Protect yourself with USS. Call them today if you have any issues. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or online at USSTN.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The measles, they're back the measles. So the measles are back. And so there is an outbreak in Texas. If you've ever had the measles, don't get them. They're not good. And, of course, the debate. Now, these people who aren't vaccinated never get vaccinated. They're the Mennonites. So they're not big on like, hey, let's go to town and see doctors. They're not big on that. So you've got certain communities in areas where that's not what they do. But they make it seem like because of this, well, it's easy to see that, because of this, it's absolutely RFK Jr.'s fault. That's not true. Okay? I am a big proponent of getting vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. Do I want them to get 9,000 shots at once? No. Do I want them to be protected from silly things? Absolutely.
This is a very contagious virus. Measles, we think, is the most contagious virus. So clearly it could continue to spread in this Mennonite community. And because people travel and see friends in other parts of the country, and those people visit those folks in Texas, we could see this spread to other under-vaccinated communities in other states.
Now, that being said, I don't know how much traveling the Mennonites are doing. I've known a few, but we weren't close. And now they're like Amish light. They're a little bit more progressive than the Amish. But to think that that's like, dude, I got to get on my Mennonite plane and go on my Mennonite vacation to some Mennonite. That's not happening. It's not.
Every single one of these cases and all the hospitalizations could have been completely prevented. I would ask people across the United States, if your children haven't been vaccinated against measles today, take them to your pediatrician or family doctor and get them vaccinated.
Now, like I said, I'm a big proponent of vaccinations. I got zero problems. It's the question about how many, like, it feels like that we have a vaccination for everything in this country, and people are just like, you got to get, like, if you got to get vaccinated against a sprained ankle or a scabby knee, or it's like we come up with something new every day for something, and that's the question that a lot of people have. These things, we shouldn't have these things. Let's be real. They're nasty. We've eradicated them for the most part, but there's always going to be areas in which people are going to catch some of these things. There's always going to be areas where you're going to have unvaccinated people. It's not like, I mean, how many people came over the border in the last, 4 years? Did we get all their vaccination status? I don't think we did. I think no.
And that's that MMR vaccine, right? Correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, which is German measles. It's all combined in one vaccine.
So there you go. The MMR right there. No, I'm not pro-plague. I'm not a plague enthusiast. I don't think we should have this nastiness around. But they talked to a doctor on CNN, and that was actually a doctor from Vanderbilt right there. They talked to a doctor from CNN, and he was like, look, I can get why people are a little nervous about some of this stuff.
Right. Well, a choice not to get a vaccine is not a risk-free choice. It's a choice to take a different, and I would argue in the current climate, more serious risk. It's okay to be skeptical about vaccines. I think you should be skeptical about anything you put into your body or your child's body. But often there are answers to the concerns people have, and so you try and explain those answers compassionately, passionately, and humbly, because we don't know everything. But on the other hand, I think people need to realize that vaccines are very well tested, and although they're not absolutely safe, certainly the benefits clearly and definitively outweigh the risks.
Which they're not perfectly safe. Nothing is. If we gave everybody in the country aspirin, somebody's going to have an allergic reaction to it. So you've got to weigh is this for the greater good? Is this good for everybody? It's good for my kids. You know, like if you go and if your thing is, I don't want my kids to be vaccinated for whatever reason, you knock yourself out. You go and do that. For me, I got my kids vaccinated. And I can only concern myself with that. But yeah, measles, mumps, rubella. I mean, the minute somebody gets polio, then we're going to have a serious conversation. Like the minute somebody gets that, like, whoa, this feels like it's a bit too much. But I go back to this when it comes to the vaccination. Pre-COVID, this wasn't really an issue outside of the crunchy granola parents, because you had some of those who didn't want to give their kids this. After COVID, it became something else, and it became the big thing about autism. Did these things give people autism? How tested were they? Like I said, I have my kids vaccinated, but yeah, there was some questions about when to get them, how many to get them. That's why I talked to my doctor, a doctor I trust, not just some rando on the street. And you do weigh it, but you weigh it for yourself, not the greater good of society, because you're going to weigh this for yourself. You might want everybody to be vaccinated. Well, if everybody's vaccinated, my kid not being vaccinated really isn't a big deal. You got to weigh these things for yourself. But so much of this, when you look at it, again, we've had 10 million people roll through here. We never checked their vaccination status. We've got certain sects in society that do not get vaccinated based on their religion. So there's a lot to it. Is it the everyday average person whose kid's in kindergarten that's not vaccinated? We might have a few more than that, but it's not to the point where I think we need to worry about these things spreading all over the place. But is that a possibility? Of course it is. Of course it is. Anything is a possibility in today's world, as we all know. Speaking of that, all right, guys, I've got some new stuff here. This is from the Doge Stop a King for the Day rally. Here comes number one. This is a kid, youngster, in his early 20s, maybe late teens.
He has brought about criminals, losers, liars, and cheats to dismantle and, frankly, insult our great government. But despite all of that, I have a great hope. I have a great hope because here, the American people are speaking out against his will. Because that's all this is. It's his personal will. And we're not going to submit to one man's will because that's not how democracy works.
Whoa! Man, he's fired up. Super fired up. Youngster.
That liberty is given to each of us. And in the famous words of Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. Thank you.
Woo! Now, it wouldn't be a rally against Donald Trump if we didn't have an Adolf Hitler sighting.
In his first term, his incompetence cost 400,000 American lives. It is appropriate that the only person in history to be responsible for more American deaths than Donald Trump is his idol, Adolf Hitler.
Did you guys get that? Adolf Hitler. Trump killed more Americans than anybody else except for Adolf Hitler. I think Biden actually had more deaths underneath. We're going to leave that out. And does it matter? Trump didn't order COVID to kill American citizens. That's where they go, though, because you have to have Adolf Hitler in every scenario when it comes to Donald Trump. You have to, which is Godwin's law. So if you don't know anything about Godwin's law, this UCLA professor came up with the theory that if you evoke Nazis or Hitler in an argument, that you've lost that argument unless you're actually talking about World War II, Nazi and the Hitlers. So by saying that, like if Bell and I were to get in an argument and he calls me a Nazi in theory, you've lost whatever portion of the argument you were hoping to win because you've evoked unless we're talking about World War II, you've thrown out Nazi or Hitler. You've lost the argument because it's like calling somebody a racist. We're at the point now where these words mean nothing. Thank you very much. But that's the insanity of which these people live in. And they're living in it every single day. They wake up thinking, what is Trump going to do next? Let's find out what he does. All of these things are going to end up in court. The insanity of people going and getting sterilized and women running out there and getting sterilized is insane because of something you think may happen to you. That there's going to be this weird world of that TV show, The Handmaid's Tale, where you're only allowed to do, all you're allowed to do is just have babies. That's it. And you must do it at the behest of anybody. And that if you get pregnant, that you must keep that child or else. And that it's this fear that these people have with no foundation of reality. It's just none. They're not interested in finding out anything real. They're not. They're interested in screaming and yelling and saying Trump is Adolf Hitler because they think somewhere along the road that is a brave thing to do. And then they say you're Adolf Hitler. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Adolf Hitler wasn't a big fan of criticism. And you're out in front of the White House and you're out in front of his place in Mar-a-Lago screaming and yelling that he's Adolf Hitler. Last time I checked, and I did a lot of studying of World War II, it didn't happen that much, right? Most people who had that opportunity to say something only said it once. Then stuff happened. Like they disappeared. They went away. They weren't participating in life anymore, is what I'm trying to tell you. So you're losing the argument. And none of what you're saying is in any real way, shape, or form reality. They're coming and you're mad at the messenger. Why? Because the message is we spend too much. Most of it's on crap we don't need. Most of it's on stuff that we will not use. Most of it's on stuff that don't forward an agenda we have with our allies, but push an agenda of insanity onto countries that do not want the things we want here. It's like Hollywood wrote a script for them, and they push it down their throats, and guess what? They don't want it. And it's a waste of money. I mean, if we had to spend that money, I'd rather it be spent here on people who need certain services that can help out into cutting our debt, even though it only do very little to it, rather than waste it elsewhere for some sort of bizarre fantasy, in particular from the LGBTQ plus community, in particular, the T community of that. Coming up, more stuff. Talk a little hockey. I'm watching some of the highlights of the fights. If you didn't see the fights the other night, fantastic. Guys beating each other on ice with sticks in their fists is awesome. If you've not seen it, we'll talk about that. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks still going on. Basketball, baby. You ready for basketball? Football's gone. We got basketball with Prize Picks, and that's what makes it awesome. I'm a big go with that right now. So right now, you can have 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. It's easy to get into the action. What's great about it is it's about choosing over, under. So think about this. Steph Curry, will he get more than 5 3-pointers in his next game? Giannis, will he score more than 35 points? Yes or no? There you go. You play your first lineup, as they call it. So those two. And they're going to give you a $50 bonus, win or lose. It's that simple. Prize Picks is the best way to get real money with basketball, yes, even hockey and many other things. Every single day, they've got tons of bonuses, tons of promos. Check it out, including tomorrow's Taco Tuesday. Sign up today, get $50 initially when you play your first $5 lineup. So what are you waiting for? Grab your phone, download the app today, dive into the action. Don't forget to use code CHAD. That $50 bonus, the minute you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 immediately. Prize Picks, run your game.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, the Amber Alert is over for the little 2-year-old East Tennessee girl found safe. Death toll at 11 from Kentucky floods. A Pennsylvania community is mourning the loss of a woman crushed by a tree. Doge protests across the nation. All this and more, too, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
They're also going to try to get into Fort Knox. They want to see if all the gold's there. They've been lying to us. What if they get there? There's like nothing here.
There's like nothing in there.
Nothing here.
My response to that would be, oh, okay, government.
Wow. What are we doing with all that gold? What are we going to do? Trump's like, we should melt it.
They're storing it in Joe Biden's
in his Corvette?
In his Corvette in the trunk.
It's just, it's yeah, they want to get into the IRS. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. This weekend, because I put a video out there last week and somebody yelled at me. I'm like, whatever. And then all of a sudden it became, you're Nazi and then you love Elon and blah, 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 all that stuff. And I said,
wait a minute. You can love Elon and not be a Nazi.
Yeah.
Can't you?
First of all, I don't love any of these people as far as politicians, whether they're just human beings. I don't know them. I like what they're doing. I think it's okay. But it's like love. That's a little, the emotion side of things.
A little too personal.
Well, I was like, I don't know Elon. What if he's a jerk in real life? I heard he's just not a bird. All right. Okay, fine. Whatever. But why should I love him? Why do I have to love him? It's a little personal.
You don't.
Yeah. So as I was sitting there laughing at some of these things, I'm like, so what you're telling me is you're angry at the fact that he's exposing ridiculous spending that we all knew was there. It's funny that everybody runs around and it's like, well, we all knew it was there. Every year they do a book about all the pork and the insanity in there. This is nothing new. None of this, we just know where it came from. That's the only different thing is we're okay, this organization's doing this and this organization. None of this stuff is new. None of it is. Every year they have a book that is strictly about pork. And that includes the ridiculous things that your Congress people bring home and your senators try to bring, Blackburn, all. They always try to bring back something. And we've talked about it for decades. Every talk show host in the world has talked about this so ridiculous. What was it? The bridge to nowhere, right? Out there in Alaska, that guy built that bridge that cost God knows how much. I mean, there's so much insane stuff that we spend money on. And this is nothing new. The difference is, okay, we've got people that are trying to prevent some of this stuff. That's good. Why are you mad at it? And I love the way that people that are, quote unquote, supposedly reasonable in the government, like, well, there are kind of right. There is some stuff that's a waste. There's a ton of stuff that's a waste. And on top of that, stuff that we don't think is a waste, the programs themselves that seem like a good idea, that money is not being used correctly. And even when it's going to them, we ask them to produce nothing in the way of actually doing something. Right? We're not asking for any accountability. We're not asking for results. We're asking for none of those things. And we should be. We should be asking for all of those things. But we don't. We don't, because the Republicans have been just as guilty as the Democrats in many of this stuff. You have your hawks out there, the budget hawks, the fiscal hawks out there, and they get voted down over and over again because when push comes to shove, both sides love to spend our money, and they have zero fiduciary responsibility to do it correctly. So when we look at this giant deficit we're in, we look at this massive, huge, everyday just ball of just growth that is just paying down a little bit of debt, making our minimum payment. The reality is we did that to ourselves, and we're continuing to do it. And that's why when some of this stuff has to get to Congress, they're going to have to vote on stuff. And we talked to Burchett last week. He said it's going to make some people nervous. There's going to be some butt puckering going on.
And he said both sides of the aisle.
Both sides of the aisle. There's going to be a little bit of nerves there. We shall see. Coming up next hour, more on the Doge. What's going on out there? Talk a little about the free speech in Germany. Bunch of other things going on. Reach out to us across all of our social media. And if you miss any of the show, we say
shame.
Someone literally deleted it.
Somebody deleted our. That's shameful. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Winter weather on the way back. Got the details and timeline during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, that Amber Alert for 2-year-old Maria Linbaugh out of Kingsport in East Tennessee is over. She has been found safe. 32-year-old Matthew Linbaugh is in custody. Deadly flooding in Kentucky. The death toll now 11. Could have been higher after this teenager and his friends were rescued after he drove into standing water near Louisville.
I see it all over like TikTok, all over YouTube, Instagram. I see these stuff happen, but I never thought this would really happen like over here, like in Kentucky, like especially on the road I use like mostly every single day.
Meanwhile, in Tennessee, high water rescues continue in far northwest Tennessee, Obion County. 27 people had to be rescued Sunday in Montgomery County, and 50 people had to be moved to safety from a nursing home in Macon County. In Pennsylvania, strong winds blew a tree down, crushing a woman to death. Elizabeth Balaguer had just spent the day with the woman at a church concert, recalling their final moments together.
I told her I loved her. She said, I love you too. Have a great night. I said, you too. We kind of like grabbed our hands as we was, and she stood there, and it just hurts.
Before this incident, neighbors said another tree had fallen in the neighborhood and knocked down wires. And on this President's Day, rallies underway to protest DOGE. That's a big gathering in D.C. Meanwhile, Mary Bruce says 15,000 IRS workers face potential layoff. Others could be barred from entering the Federal Aviation Administration tomorrow.
We've heard stories of people who have gotten email notices that they have lost their job at midnight, even when their own supervisors and advisors didn't know. People who were locked out of their email and HR systems before they could figure out whether they would still have health insurance.
Back here in Nashville, Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac says a man's in custody after showing a rifle to law enforcement who were called to a home to check on the welfare of a woman and her child.
A woman's family asked for a welfare check on her. They were concerned that her severe medical needs were not being taken care of. Metro Police say when officers arrived around 8:15 last night, that's when the husband came to the door with a rifle. This happened near the Pennington Bend and Lock 2 Road area. Police took cover behind their cars and then heard a gunshot from inside this home. That's when SWAT team was called in. Officers got 2 warrants for aggravated assault. The SWAT team was able to eventually get inside and arrest the man around 3 o'clock this morning after he refused to come out for hours. The woman and an 8-year-old girl were both inside at the time, but neither one of them were hurt. The man is now facing 2 counts of aggravated assault.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
cold. Next day or so, going to get freezing. What time are we expecting the snow tomorrow night, Ken?
Let's see that, Brother Chad. It's definitely going to be overnight tomorrow, early Wednesday morning, but I have not seen, a detailed timeline for it.
Okay.
However, we're going to be down in the teens at night.
I like that.
Probably for the rest of the week.
Ooh, I like that.
No, sir.
No, sir, but I got my big coat.
That's right.
So
you got a brand new coat.
I do. I got a big coat before I moved to Arizona. My mom got me this big coat. I thought this was cool.
Is it made of Gore-Tex?
It's just a regular old, it's like a denim coat, but it's got like fur in the middle of it.
It's puffy like George Costanza.
No,
was.
it's not that. It's not that. And I was excited. And then I got out to, then I haven't been able to wear anything but flip-flops and shorts, which is an amazing thing. I'm not going to lie to you.
Right.
But the reality is I had this coat, and it wasn't until this year. So 7, 8, I remember when we were moving out here, I grabbed it. It was like the first thing I grabbed to put in the car. I'm like, I'm taking this for sure. Because I know it gets cold out there. We may even see some snow. Kids, we may see snow. And I was super excited about it. So I got, Thursday, 24 is a high, 9 is a low.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, nasty.
My coat.
Nasty.
My coat's loving this. Love it. It's going to be nice. This is going to be good. So next couple days. So we're going to be mostly sunshine, though, for the next 2 days. And then tomorrow night, we can expect it a little bit cooler.
That's
when
stuff.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure, because I get a day or two ahead. I want to make sure my walk-in, what am I planning for my walk-in? Am I wearing boots? Am I wearing tennis shoes? Because I walk to work every day. It's what I do. I'm saving the environment from climate change. I'm really not. I'm not. I'd drive a big old truck if I could, but I don't need one. I don't even drive now. That's what's so great. Because I'm centralized. I don't have to drive.
Yeah.
Which is so, we have maybe filled up, since October, maybe 4 or 5 times we filled up our car.
Awesome.
That's what I love.
Sounds like my wife, man. She works at home. We haven't filled up her car in months.
Yeah. We haven't filled our car up. We got a new battery. Never taken the car out. Just let it sit there. Because the battery died. We got a new battery. And it's just, we just don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And everything's within walking distance, which is awesome. And because I was filling up, and when the gas was out of control, because Biden did that, I was filling up almost every other day in Arizona at like $5 a pop because I was driving 130 miles a day. And that was just awful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just awful. So you start really counting it.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. Insane. Speaking of Arizona, we could talk about, yes, kids, it's called immigration. You guys familiar with immigration? Something's happening with immigration that's really interesting. Take it away.
San Diego has closed an office that was opened up to receive illegals. What's that tell us?
Well, let's find out what it tells us. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the grumpy grandpa himself, Tom Holman.
That tells us the border is more secure than it's ever been. We're going to have additional facilities built to detain for removal, not to hold to release. Detain for removal. That is what the Trump administration is doing. That's what the promise that President Trump made to the American people. We're concentrating on the export program. We're not going to be catch and release is over. So those facilities that were at great taxpayer expense to welcome people, fly them to the city of their choice, give them a free hotel room at taxpayer expense, 3 meals a day, free medical attention. Those days are over. We're going to detain, we end catch and release, and we're going to hold people to remove, not to release.
There you go. Hold people to remove, not to release. That's a good thing. The issue is we still don't have enough when it comes to beds because, as we pointed out last week, the reality is we have laws, and those laws say we can't hold people indefinitely. And because of that, we have got to release people after a certain amount of time. And those are usually the ones. We're not releasing the worst first. We're releasing the individuals who get caught up in something, and we know they've been here for X amount of years. They've not really done anything. And so we're releasing them back out there, and they've got to wear the ankle bracelet, and we go from there. But we're still not at a number that is going to make a dent when it comes to how many people we really need to take into custody, how long we're going to have to hold them for, what do they have to do? Because some of these people they're going to be deported immediately. Others are going to have hearings. Others are going to have to potentially be still here in America because they're going to have to go through criminal proceedings as well.
I just want to take this conversation more broad and talk about how it's going so far with the president's promise, multiple promises on immigration and deportation. You've said roughly 14,000 migrants have been arrested in the first month of this administration, and that's well below the 1,500 daily arrests that the president says he wants to see. You're getting support from across the federal government, from the FBI, from DEA, from U.S. Marshals, even the military. What's the struggle? Why are you struggling to get those arrests where President Trump wants them?
Well, we got to remember the interior arrests conducted by ICE in the interior of the United States is 2.5 times higher than they were a year ago during the Biden administration. So ICE is doing a great job. I'm not happy with the numbers because we got a lot of criminals to find. So what we're talking about right now, we're increase the number of teams, increase the targeting, the division of ICE that creates a target list of, finding who these people are, what their criminal history is, and where we're most likely to find him. We got to increase the targeting production.
And that's going to take a lot, because what we would need to clear out everything, which I hear from people all the time, we got to get everybody out here. It's just not possible. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the manpower and the space. So excluding weekends and holidays, you have a 48-hour hold on people. So a 48-hour hold is not a long time before you either have to release them or send them back. That's what ICE detainer is, 48 hours. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the judges. We don't have any of that stuff in place to get through in the time period that people would like to see it happen. It's just not there. Does it mean we can't get there? We can get there to a certain extent, but we're not going to get there to the tune of, we arrest 10,000 a day, 9,000 a day. And we're just not going to get to that point. It's just where we can get them through that fast. We don't have the facilities. Because remember, I think right now we have 42,000 beds, give or take. Because some of them are people that are coming over and that are going to be repatriated immediately. And some of them are people that are being taken into custody. So it's going to take a while. It is. It's going to take a long while to get up to speed. And even at that point, it is not going to be what I think a lot of people want it to be. But so much of what's happening that is happening in the right way is the fact that people aren't being allowed to be captured, if you will, turn themselves in, and then released into the country. That stops a massive flow, and now you can chip away at the others, the worst first, and go from there, which is the way it should be done. Because you've got to stop it. It's that thing that we've talked about before. There's a leak in your boat. You trying to bail out isn't going to help if the leak's not plugged up. And we're plugging that leak, and it's showing every single day. Doesn't mean there won't be an increase, because they're looking around, the cartels. They're taking an inventory. They're looking around saying, all right, what can we do? How do we overcome some of these things? What are some of the things that we can do and put into play that's going to help sneak people in here? And a lot of what you're going to see now is an increase in the number of gotaways, which is scary, to say the least. Speaking of gotaways, Trump got away this weekend with the Daytona 500.
President Trump attended the Daytona 500 yesterday, 1 week after becoming the first sitting U.S. president to attend the Super Bowl. With fighter jets flying overhead, Trump took a spin around the track in his presidential limousine.
If you didn't see it, it was pretty awesome. I have a buddy who can't stand Trump. He texts me and goes, dude, I got to be honest, that was pretty cool. Like, it was pretty cool. Like, they're like, he wants to do it. Like, that was his, like, he's not going there not to do it. He's going there. Trump's like, he's telling the guy, floor it, baby, floor it. Get up on the side.
We're going to the Capitol.
Ride dirty. Let's bump. That is so him. And I thought it was cool, right? And he was there. He gave a great big, it was very America. And you will find very few places, maybe the Indianapolis 500, maybe a little bit more patriotic, but I don't even know if that is true. That was probably arguably the most patriotic place you're going to find in the last several months was Daytona 500. And it's his crowd. Let's go back and remember, Let's Go Brandon was a NASCAR thing. Here's the other thing, though. If you won the NASCAR 500, if you won the Daytona 500 yesterday, tell me who won. Nobody can, because everybody's going, Trump did a big, giant, huge lead car thing.
Who was the French guy in Legend of Ricky Bobby?
Oh, God, that guy.
He won, didn't he?
No, he didn't. A guy named Byron did? I don't know if it was Byron. Somebody will probably tell us on the line because I don't watch Formula One. But it was pretty awesome. But you've been overshadowed by the president. That's the thing. You went and you won the Daytona 500, the biggest race. You won the Super Bowl of NASCAR. And all anybody's talking about today is Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's got to be so disheartening.
Yeah, it was,
I mean, not to say that I'm not saying Trump doing that was bad, but when you're the winner and nobody knows your name, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, and it's his second straight Daytona 500 win.
Oh, wow.
It's William Byron.
Byron. See, I had a Byron in there. I thought his name was...
You were halfway there, Brother Chad.
I was halfway there, but I wouldn't even... Here's the thing about people are chiming in. I don't know any of these guys anymore.
Yeah.
They're not doing. There's no Dale Juniors. There's no Jeff Gordons. They're not doing a great job of pushing these young drivers out there, and you got to do a good job of that. But yesterday, you won your second in a row, and all anybody's talking about is the limousine going around as fast as possible. It's all you got usurped by the president. Speaking of the president, first and foremost, is it President Musk? Oh, we got to deport him.
Deport Musk! Deport Musk! Deport Musk! Deport Musk!
So we're going to deport Musk because yes,
it was not only legal but a citizen.
Yeah, we're gonna deport him. We're getting rid of him because he is a meanie, and that's all he's ever going to be is a meanie. And people are upset about all the great things that they do. And this was on 60 Minutes with the USAID, that's the United States aid program. How upset some of these people were.
People are really scared. I think that 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
All gone overnight for Christina Dry and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid distributed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID.
Can I just say, we live in a world where people are laid off every day. People are fired on a daily basis. In our business in particular, as you guys all know, it happens. You crunch the numbers don't work. We have to follow. It's not like we can just go print more money and go into more debt and stuff. But that includes everybody across the country. And at no point in time is 60 Minutes rolling to their house going, hey, let's have a conversation of why you were let go from the chicken factory.
More than 8,000 USAID employees were sent home by the administration.
They're not looking for competency. They're not looking for if you're good at your job. They're looking for pure loyalty tests. And if you don't give it, you will be punished.
And they had to leave the building. And these are folks who had decades and decades of public service serving USAID across administrations, from, George Bush to Obama to the first Trump administration. And they were never able to walk back in the building again.
There was no process. No one explained to them why they were being relieved.
To my knowledge, they received an email, and then if they didn't leave the building, they were escorted out of the building.
I saw that Meta let go a whole bunch of people a couple weeks ago. Never was 60 Minutes over there going, hey, we need to talk to you about what happened here. We need to talk to you. Well, what happened is the product we were working on doesn't work, and people got mad at us. It was not turning a profit. After a while, we became a giant succubus, and they let us go. No, none of that stuff. Just, I'm curious, we're trying to fit in a narrative, that giant government is good? No, giant government isn't good. You know what's good? Responsible government that spends wisely and runs efficiently. It could be bigger, it could be smaller, but it can also be broken both ways. You could have a small government that sucks and a bigger government that's efficient. You know what we have? None of those. None of those. Coming up, talk a little weather, because, climate change and everything. Want to make sure we got it right. Talk a little bit about that. We got a bunch of other stuff, including the hockey game this weekend. How awesome was that? If you didn't see it, we'll talk about that straight ahead. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital. Call my buddies at Bulwark. If you've got any issues when you're thinking about your retirement, your investments, what are you doing with those things? I work with them exclusively. They're amazing. I see my family there. My buddy Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, is going to take care of you. Call 866-779-RISK today, 866-779-RISK. So what they're doing at Bulwark is they're giving you what I like to call a second opinion. Now you're thinking to yourself, what's that? Well, it's a risk review. They go through your retirement. They take a look at your retirement. They give you a build out of what they think that you need to do to get to where you want to go, not based on a cookie cutter thing, anything like that. Risk management, lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility, and give you the most upside potential. All they ask you to do, cover the cost of shit. All they ask you to do is when you call them, they send out all this stuff. Just sit down with them for 10 minutes. Ask you anything crazy. They're not a big, giant, huge, lunatic company that's going to call you 50 times a day. That's not who they are. They just, you know what? You like what they do? Great. If not, part as friends and learn something. Call Bulwark today, 866-779-RISK, or go to knowyourriskradio.com. That is KNOWyourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk, not a guarantee. Past performance, not guarantee future results. Trek 24378. Beacon Capital Management. Presidential election, uncertainty. Want to sit down with somebody and shake hands and get a retirement-ready toolkit? Beacon is going to provide you with that. Let me tell you about Beacon. First of all, they're local. You're not alone if you're worried about what's happening out there. And if you're in the world of, hey, I'm close to retirement, maybe I'm in retirement, I don't want to unretire because I have to, Beacon's going to help you out with that with their free retirement-ready toolkit. It's just for you. First things first, call 615-488-9303. No cost, no obligation, no pressure. That's 615-488-9303. They're going to get you a Money Enough for Life book, which is great, a retirement planning checklist, which is always needed, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper, again, at no cost to you. Beacon will sit down with you, go over everything that's happening, and no high pressure, none of that stuff. Call 615-488-9303 for your free retirement-ready toolkit, 615-488-9303, or online at askbeaconnow.com.
Breaking news. Looks like a plane has crashed on landing at the Toronto Pearson Airport in Canada. Reports of multiple injuries. We'll get you as many details as possible coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. This feels like it's a lot happening right now in the world of airplanes.
Yeah. This is a lot, dude.
Is this a, do we know if it's a bigger plane?
It's a Delta.
Ooh.
Delta flight.
My God.
Yep. Flopped upside down after crashing, coming in for a landing there in Toronto.
Oh, jeez.
That's not going to be small.
No, that is not going to be small. And I'm looking at some of this stuff here. It is, I'm not saying what size it is, but you're right. It's not a tiny plane at all.
Yeah, it's Delta Flight 4819.
It just feels weird that like every day there's something new with airplanes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're not falling from the sky. And it's not hundreds of deaths every single day. It's just this plane didn't work, but it crash landed, but only one person was killed, and these people over here, it was a hard landing, or it's not even stuff that's happening in midair, like where it's horrific turbulence, or there's loonies on there. Let's not forget that. That just seems to be the new norm.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take all that into account. Yeah, it apparently took off from Minneapolis at 11:34 a.m. local time, and then this is the result there in Toronto.
Yeah, it's a jet. I'm looking at pictures of it right now, and it's literally sitting on the runway upside down.
Yeah, it's not a prop. Yeah,
No.
like you said, Brother Bilal, it's a real deal.
If this is only injuries and no deaths, somebody got really lucky.
That's pretty.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, it goes back to this weird time where is it just confirmation bias that we're focusing so much because, we had one and then this is a hyper focus with this being an anomaly. If we, it's like shark attacks, right? Like they don't happen that often. That's why they're big stories. But it just feels like this is happening way more than I can remember. And it's more than just a little uncomfortable because I've heard from several of you, and the fear of flying is growing on a daily basis. But oddly enough, it's not the flying part that seems to be the problem. It's the landing part lately that seems to be the problem. So we're keeping abreast of this, but it's definitely a bigger plane.
Yeah, it's a Mitsubishi CRJ 900LR.
Okay, that must be it's like probably like a McDonnell Douglas where they have the two engines on the back.
Yes,
rather than the wing.
Yes.
So those probably hold 100 people or so.
Yeah, it's. I'm seeing New York Times says at least 8 injured that they've identified so far, but the extent of the injury is not known. Apparently, the runway was covered in snow.
Oh, is that probably
whenever it was landing?
They're saying it's a regional jet. It is smaller than a 737, typically 2x2. Yeah, I've been in a few of those, flying from like Phoenix to Burbank or LA. Those are just jets. You get 2x2 means there's 2 seats on either side, and then there's a walkway down the middle. So maybe, and usually what happens, like if it's a Delta, it's probably another company that Delta is partnered with for tiny regional airplanes trips. So it's top of mind, and one of the most terrifying things for people is to give up any kind of control. When we talk about airplanes, you're 37,000 feet in the air. There is a fear for a lot of people because they have no control over what goes on. We don't see anything out there. We're flying, and we know in our mind it is safe. We know in our mind that millions of people do it every single day, and that the chances of you dying in a plane crash are virtually non-existent. That being said, it doesn't mean that we don't think about it. And now that it's in the news on a daily basis where, the engines failed, but they got back. There was a leak. There was smoke inside there. Somebody tried to open a door. One of the, landing gears didn't work. And now we've got a plane upside down in Toronto. It just makes you think every single day.
88 seats.
88 seats. Okay. So we'll see. And, of course, they're now releasing more and more out of what took place with the crash in D.C., and it looks like this was failure to communicate. People couldn't hear each other. It looks more and more like a human error than anything else. Coming up, a lot more to get to. We'll have the latest on this incident that took place in Toronto. Another plane crash, but not a plane falling from the sky, but looks like on landing something happened. We'll have more on that, a bunch of other stuff as well, including Whoopi telling everybody, hey, you know what? If they're a Trump voter, maybe you shouldn't talk to him, which is just insane. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got some snow on the way. We've got the timeline during the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now, the breaking news out of Canada. Officials say a Delta flight has flipped upside down after crashing on a snow-covered runway at Toronto Pearson Airport this afternoon. At least 8 people reportedly injured that they have counted so far. The extent of the injuries are unknown. The type of plane we're talking about is a Mitsubishi CRJ 900 that seats at least 88 people. Right now in Tennessee, an Amber Alert canceled. 2-year-old Maria Linbaugh found safe after going missing this morning in Kingsport. A man is in custody. And right now in Kentucky, the death toll stands at 11 after devastating floods.
Every time we get a good rain, it floods. Every time.
Yeah, that man says it was around his house. President Trump, by the way, has signed an emergency declaration to free up resources for the bluegrass state. Here in Middle Tennessee, at least 27 people had to be rescued from their flooded homes in Montgomery County yesterday. 52 people at a nursing home in Macon County had to be moved to a safer facility due to rising waters. And a Murray County family of 3 escaped harm after a tree fell and split their mobile home in half. And in our nation's capital,
Where is Congress?
hundreds gathered outside the U.S. Capitol to protest President Trump and Doge, led by Elon Musk. All of this ahead of more federal layoffs tomorrow, says Rachel Scott.
Elon Musk and his team promised to update their website by Valentine's Day with information about how much they are saving the federal government. But as of this morning, that page is still blank. Meanwhile, the administration is facing a series of legal challenges, and this morning we are learning the president's fight to fire an independent watchdog is now reaching the Supreme Court. Congress limited a president's power to fire a leader without cause. The high court is expected to weigh in.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there now. Use my code Chad. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens, a $20 value for you and your dog. And this is for your dog. They have Meow Greens as well, which is great, but they want to challenge you, take their 90-day challenge. So it's 1 scoop a day of Rough Greens. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369 enzymes, living stuff that's great for your dog's food. Your dog food is dead food. It's meant to live on a shelf. It's not really meant to be super healthy. With this, you're going to notice a lot of things. First 30 days. Shinier coat, more energy. By day 60, you're going to notice not only stronger energy, you're going to notice a lot of their limbs and their legs, especially older dogs, are going to be healthier. They're going to have be bouncing around more. It is going to be great, and that's because of the live nutrients. By day 60, any issues they had with their aches and pains and their arthritis going to be gone. Any issues they had, their digestive tract, their heart health, you watch what happens. It's going to be amazing. Try a Jumpstart trial bag now of Rough Greens and take the 90-day challenge with Rough Greens. Go to ruffgreens.com. Use code Chad. Get a $20 value bag free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Ruffgreens.com. Ruffgreens.com. Code Chad.
We're in Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site. We're upside down. Everybody, most people appear to be okay. We're all getting off. Some smoke going on.
We know you've had your many choices flying Delta. We appreciate this. Goes out to our club members.
That's so wrong.
I wouldn't say that for a bunch of people dead. There is 8 injured, 1 critically, they say, but everybody seems to be accounted for.
That is, this could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. And it
by
is,
a long shot, yeah.
So did the wing break off? I'm reading all kinds
When
of
it
things.
flipped, yeah, it broke off.
Okay, so it wasn't that. Now the question is, how the hell did it flip? Did it hit something? Was there something out there?
Exactly. That's the question.
So if you guys are just tuning in, there is a plane in Toronto, left from Minneapolis, landed, then flipped upside down and went down the runway. Everybody's accounted for. 1 critical injured. 8 people are injured. The extent we don't know, but everybody seems to be alive. The issue is, how did this thing end up upside down? Because it had to be.
Incredible.
You're thinking it probably had to be some sort of malfunction on the landing gear or something, or it hit something, but they're not saying.
Yeah, I'm only seeing the front tires down. I don't see. Yeah, I don't see the back landing gear.
No, I don't see that either.
Or would that be kind of toward the middle?
It'd probably be towards the middle, but is there even anything there? Because it didn't break apart. The wing broke off, but the thing didn't break apart. Like it's not in several pieces. The fuselage is still all together.
Yeah.
But it took a beating. There's no doubt about that.
Man.
Yeah,
So-
like Ken said, this could have been so much
much worse. Upon landing. So this was nothing to do with anything in the air. So they weren't coming in any way, shape, or form where like, we can't stop. We are out of control. So something happened when they landed.
Yeah.
Which, did something break off? Did they hit something? Was something out there? We're not hearing any of that. But
Are runways usually snowy?
Not really. Usually they go out and make sure that they're not snowy.
Because this one looks to be covered.
Don't they de-ice the runways?
They do,
similar to
yeah.
the
Well, they go
plane?
out and they clear the runways. They don't really de-ice them, but they clear them. And it's weird because it's who knows what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're hearing so many of these things. A lot of you were chiming in. Wake turbulence is one of them. So
I guess maybe if I don't know, Brother Chad. I'm thinking it had to have hit something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Because there's the wing, looks like about 100 yards away from where the rest of the plane is. And like I said, the runway looks to be snow covered, and it's not snowing.
If they hit a patch of ice or something and the pilot tried to overcompensate, that could have been a contributing factor. But, we're guessing at this point.
Well, yeah.
Here's a question. If your phone is in the overhead and you're trying to get out, do you go get your bag, get your phone?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
This isn't Germany, man. I need my phone.
Well, I mean, crops on my farm town are going to perish.
Do you play Farmtown?
Dude, I tried to find my farm town a couple of weeks ago, and it's nowhere to be found. I think Facebook got rid of it.
They sold your plot.
They sold it.
No, the airport was having delays. Some people are saying could have skidded sideways, which is always a possibility.
Yeah.
Where it got a little sideways. Maybe they came in too hot. So everybody is accounted for. Again, only 1 critically injured. 9 now they're saying are injured. And there was thank God, there's no fire.
Right.
Which is, the fear of this, even if you land. But right, I don't see any landing gear in the center or the back. Could that have been an issue? And then they got a little sideways? I have no idea, but it is, it's awful. And at a time when we seem to be seeing way too many of these. Like 1 is too many.
Yes.
But we go back to this, you look at this, still outside of we knew kind of what happened with the DC plane crash. The helicopter hit it, so we kind of know what happened. That wasn't a malfunction of any of the plane or any of that stuff. It's still a vast majority of these people walked off. I don't know how many people were on the plane, 88 potential people. How many were actually on it? But they're walking off. It's still safe. Terrifying, but safe. No doubt about that. Speaking of terrifying, this, ladies and gentlemen, this is called The View. The Zoo, The View.
People also have to get out of their echo chambers because, like, everyone was like, Project 2025, Project 2025. If you hated Project 2025, that worked for you. If you weren't super clear or you liked some parts of it but not others, Democrats have to be willing to go to uncomfortable spaces.
I think this is beyond Democrats and Republicans.
Well, yeah, you're right, actually, and I don't like the labels of all of it because I think most people are multifaceted and don't just fit into one bucket. But you have to have conversations with people who disagree with you if you want to build coalitions to push back, because you are going to find there are a lot of things Donald Trump does that I agree with, but then there are things I think are dangerous, reckless, and want to call out. So you have to be able to talk to people who, it doesn't have to be all this or all that, but find movement on the things that matter.
It's hard to talk to people who support people who think you don't matter in the country.
But it's not supporting the person, though.
But when you support that person,
right, but
it brings...
What do you mean you don't matter? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, you get a lot of this. We don't exist. Who says you don't exist? You exist. Nobody says you don't exist. No, but you don't matter. Okay, but what do you mean by you don't matter? I'm trying to figure out, like, you're saying, Whoopi, well, I don't matter. Well, what about you doesn't matter?
Go ahead.
But I don't support that person. My point being that I don't disagree with everything Trump is doing, so we have to be able to have conversations, but we do agree on these things, so how can we all get together on those issues?
Well, when we find the stuff that we agree on, that's what we do. Yeah, right. But when we find the stuff that is disagreeable to the majority... Now, I didn't find anything of interest for me in Project 2025. I didn't feel like this was geared to us as a nation. I felt it was geared to very specific folks, and that bothered the poo out of me. But I understand what you're saying, and yeah, we do have to talk to each other. That's the beauty. That's the thing. When people tell you who they are, you got to believe them. First time. We'll be right.
Okay, so, and this is the thing it always makes me laugh about, like, well, Project 2025, which is every one of these people on the right and the left, the minute they're done with politics for the group that they're serving. So if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you go where? You go to think tanks. Why? They're going to pay a ton of money. They want you to sketch out a whole bunch of stuff, write a bunch of things. We're going to put it together. We're going to give it to the next group of people. This is some of the stuff that maybe they take, maybe they don't take. Right? And you're telling me, oh, there's 900 pages. Are you telling me Trump read all that? Trump didn't read all that. If it was 10 pages, he ain't reading it. Okay? He's got people for that. And some of those people now work there, of course. They've worked in the other portion of Trump's presidency 4 years, 4, 6, 8 years ago. That's what you do. That's what these people are just rehashing. The minute they're done here, they're going to go right back to a think tank. They're going to go to a lobbyist group. They do this stuff. The Democrats, they've got one too. Just didn't work because the lunacy of which they pushed, just it defied common sense. So once you do that, and it doesn't work, but you must talk to people on the other side. That's why earlier we were talking about the fact that Germany, if you guys in here, 60 Minutes did a great piece on Germany's want now to clamp down on any kind of political rhetoric that they seem to think is hateful, and they're coming for you if you do that. And they want to make sure that there is, there's no mistaking you. They're going to bust in the door. They're going to come get you.
What's the typical reaction when the police show up at somebody's door and they say, hey, we believe you wrote this on the internet?
They say, in Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting on internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
They don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my free speech. And we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it also has its limits.
But yeah, our free speech has its limits. But when you push people away and you're not willing to engage in them, and then you make it criminal for them to even have the thoughts that they do, what happens is they go off and they become martyrs. They go off and they become radicalized. They go off and they say all of the things that I think are happening are now really happening, and you've done this to me. And that's why we can't become this country. But that includes the fact that we've got to engage people that we disagree with. And the other thing is, and this is something that isn't talked about as much, we have to be willing to call out our own. And everybody's terrified to do that because they're afraid that the tribe won't be our friends anymore. If you see something you disagree with, don't say it. If you see something you think, you know what, I agree in some of that, I don't agree with some of that. Nope. We've become, and Matt and I have talked about this a lot, it's an all or nothing world, which is not a healthy way to do anything, whether it's your work or your relationship or anything in life. And I'm not talking about a one-off scenario. I'm talking about politics over the last 10 years has become all or nothing, where it is, you're either with us 100%, and I can do no wrong, and you must basically give me your undivided, do not question anything I do, loyalty on either side of the aisle, or else we're going to kick you out of the tribe. And that is not a healthy thing. We need to be open. We need to be honest. We need to have conversations. And if you see something, you shouldn't be afraid to call people out. But we are. And we're afraid to talk to people on the other side, which I find mind-boggling. Because they're not on the other side. They're just fellow Americans that have a differing belief. Not everybody's going to believe what you believe, and vice versa. Nor should you want that, because that's also weird. That's a cult. And we don't want that. Coming up, Matt's going to join the program. Ken's going to have more on what's going on in Toronto. Again, an issue with a Delta flight that flipped upside down upon landing. And so far, everybody's accounted for. There are some injuries, one critical, but no deaths as of now. Obviously, this is a fluid situation, so it could change throughout the day. We'll have that and a bunch more straight ahead. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. We're talking about evacuating bowels. Matt Murphy. It's the name of my band, Evacuating Bowels.
That's a good name for a band. Mine is Orange Beach Sex Hole.
That's a good one, too.
Thank you.
We were talking about the plane crash. You said, I would evacuate my bowels.
I would crap my pants is what I said.
But I said, it's if you knew it was coming.
I mean, yeah, but
if it just happened really fast, it wouldn't give you that time to have that
You
issue.
don't tell. I could crap my pants right now. Don't you tell me when I can crap my pants.
I could be
when
in
I can't
condom
crap
whatever
my
you
pants.
want.
No, I mean, that's scary, man. I mean, obviously, you have the fear of not being able to do anything. That's my big fear on planes. Once we get up there, I'm fine because I've done the research and the statistics say that it's the takeoff and the landings, obviously, that are the big issues. But, that's scary, man.
The takeoff and landing is the thing that is, because you're coming through now, we're seeing that how close we are to all of these things. Yes,
Can I add something?
Please do.
Matt, I want you to know you're officially not allowed to crap your pants.
Oh.
And we all know what that means.
Official.
I see. He knows. He knows me. You tell me I can't do something.
You're going to do it?
I'm going to go all in.
You should totally do it then.
I'm going all in. Grabbing my pants right now. So, no, I mean, you know about the point of no return, right?
Yeah.
So there's the when you're taking off, there's a point, the runways are only so long, and there's a point, and it's about a 10 to 20 second frame of time, depending on the size of the aircraft, that even if the pilots know that there's something horribly wrong, they have to try to take off.
Yeah.
Because the option B is to crash.
Yeah.
That's the point that gets me. Every flight is that little moment. And I don't know why that is any different than any other moment, but for me, it's worse if the pilots know, we're screwed, and they still have to go through.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thought of you guys are going to have to take off to try to hopefully get up in the air to fix something and land again.
Right.
But there's something wrong, so the chances of you doing that may be slim to none.
I also watch way too much air disasters on Smithsonian Channel.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
It's not, no. I mean, because if you watch enough air disasters, and they play it all the time on Smithsonian, if you watch enough air disasters, every time you get on a plane, you think, well, this is my last day on Earth.
Yeah.
This is great because all the planes crash.
I know.
And they don't.
They don't. In fact, rarely do they, even in the worst places on the planet where they have very bad safety records, rarely do they go down.
It is on the whole, and nobody likes to look at it this way, especially on the heels of something that happened like this. But on the whole, it's an incredible. There are an incredible amount of successes versus the failures.
Yeah,
I mean the percentages are just insane, especially considering what we're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, we're magically, as Louis C.K. once said, what do you have a problem with? The fact that we're magically flying at 35,000 feet in the air, soaring above the heavens at 500 miles an hour, and you can't get your stupid Wi-Fi or your drink on time?
It's crazy. There was a article, it was the front page a few years ago of Popular Mechanics. It says, to this day, engineers and scientists still have no idea why planes stay in the air.
Yeah, you know,
it
whatever.
just does.
I mean, there's a lift thing, and then there's that thing,
they're
but
not
really,
quite sure once you get up there why it's like that. It's such a weird thing when you think about it, because they look at it, they go, there's no way that these two engines with this wings should be able to take off and maintain that kind of speed. And stay up in the air.
I like it when an organization like, Scientific American or Popular Mechanics ends an article with, maybe you shouldn't ask so many questions.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't think about it so much.
You know what? It's safe.
Yeah,
So far, what we know is it's safe. If they all start falling out of the sky, then maybe driving might be the best answer.
Hey, what's your not to take control of your cross, but I don't get the benefit of having both. I used to, Chad.
Okay.
I used to have the Chris Hand cross and then the Brian Wilson cross. I don't get the both now. See, I don't get to cross for someone else. I only get the one cross. I know. It's upsetting. So I don't want to take over your cross, but I do have a question for you.
Go for it.
What's your stand on President's Day?
It used to be. Now you and I are about the same age, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're this great Gen X crowd.
Yeah, sure.
It used to be we got 2 Mondays in a row off. We had Lincoln and Washington's birthday. That's what angers me. I don't really care about President's Day. I mean, the reality is, it was based on kings and stuff. It's just another way to have a day off for people to sell mattresses and stuff like that.
I don't care anybody. Although, where'd you grow up?
Southern California.
So this is very interesting. In Georgia, we didn't really do Lincoln's birthday because we didn't really like him. You know what I'm saying?
He had issues.
Yeah, carried over
for you guys. He had some issues.
You know what we said about Lincoln? First 100 years, you're off the table. But then we'll let you. We'll reassess our opinion of you later.
Are you serious?
I'm not. We didn't celebrate Lincoln's birthday in Georgia.
Yeah.
No. There was 100. I mean, now this is in the early 1980s.
Yeah.
I think we started at some point we started celebrating Lincoln's birthday. But no. The South didn't like Lincoln.
Well, I know that, but a day off. Those people we didn't really know him. We all like a day off.
Oh no! You know what they did? They did Jefferson Davis's birthday. In Alabama, they still do Jefferson Davis's birthday.
Really?
And they do Confederate Memorial Day in Alabama too. There's 2 state holidays. It's ridiculous the amount of state holidays there are. It's ridiculous the amount of federal holidays there are. And that's going to be my first subject on the show. I think we should eliminate President's Day. I don't know why we're adding Juneteenth. I don't know why we're adding all these. Y'all have vacation days. Take them.
But the difference is the feds love to have extra days off. See, this is it. This is all stuff that you and I don't get, right? You're selling a mattress today. You're out there. You're out there selling cars today. It's a big weekend to sell cars.
No, I did the deep dive on who gets off, and apparently it's government employees,
banks,
the stock exchange, and Cumulus Broadcasting in the sales department.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
I mean, right?
Well, like even my national show, they're like, "You're working on Monday." I'm like,
"Oh,
I?"
that's nice."
They're like, "Are you guys?" No, we're all off. Oh, okay, fantastic.
Great.
Thanks for that.
They tell you could bank a day. That's what we always do.
Yeah,
you can bank a day.
You can bank a day for when?
You bank a day.
Yeah.
Hey, can I take this day? No, you can't take that. day.
Yeah. You could have this.
That's an important day. Although there's a lot of news. I mean, obviously the breaking news about the aircraft. We'll go over that and more snow, baby.
More snow, baby.
More
That's
snow
coming.
on the way.
More, but not until late tomorrow night, though. So, Matt Murphy, Straight Ed, you guys have a good rest of your Monday. And, hey, thank God for President's Day or whatever day this is. Just regular day for us. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.